Hello?
Hello. Alright.
Oh,
Can you,
okay, can
I
you hear me?
I can hear you just fine.
Oh, great.
Aha!
Alright, so
Okay, hold up, and
I didn't even know you was on Discord.
I
really?
am. How else do I've been doing the online tournaments for Tekken since most of the time I'm working.
Oh yeah, me too. I'm working tonight too. I got out. What was it? Overnight shift from 11 to 7 a.m.
Yeah, I got 11:45 to noon, or
Alright.
unless they let me out early.
Alright guys, I know that we're slightly early, but first off, Marcus, turn on your fucking camera.
Yeah, give me 1 second. I was just trying to. My leg. Okay, hold on. You know, I'm a big guy. You know what I'm saying? I gotta move around.
Yeah, you do, but come on.
And taking up like all of the space.
Alright, so anyways,
Ah.
might as well get introduced to everyone first. Alright. So hey guys, welcome to the podcast on BK Uryuu. So I am that guy. So and I have my special guest with me. To my far left is whose son Elizabeth Cookie, and then in the middle you have Mark Charles, aka Inferno Spyro. Hey guys, how y'all been?
I'm good. Long
Yep,
day.
not too bad.
Alright,
As
so
you
That's saying a
can
lot.
it's okay. It's totally cool to eat. I'm like drinking coffee right now. It's cold up here in Portland, guys. It's cold up here. I wish I was back in Cali.
Well, your
I
place looks
prefer
hella
the cold,
big.
actually.
Huh?
I say your place looks hella big right now. That's Portland. I see a chandelier in the fucking background.
I'm living in a shared house right now. But anyways, so today I want to talk about the current state of the FGC and what we see in the future.
Okay.
So, Cookie, I want to know, when were you in the FGC and how long have you been in it
Oh God. Um, as you know, I'm not from California. I'm originally from New York City.
for? Yeah.
I was born and raised in the Bronx. So when I first was introduced to the martial arts, I like to call it martial arts gaming universe. It sounds so much better than just FGC. But at least to me, I started when Street Fighter 2 was released for Super Nintendo officially.
Whoa.
Um, I was in, yeah. So we're talking about like 1991, 1992, a little bit, yeah, 91, 92. My cousin Tabiti, he's the one that introduced it to me because his father bought him a Super Nintendo. And at the time, I was into puzzle games, aka The Adventures of Lolo, which eventually gave life to Kirby. Kirby is what took over after the Lolo series with HAL Laboratories. And he introduced me to Street Fighter 2 one day when I went to his house in Hackensack, New Jersey. And from there, I didn't even know what the hell I was doing. I just knew that there was a girl in the lineup. I wanted to play with the girl. She was Asian. I couldn't remember her name. So I told Tabiti, really, and when we were playing, he was kicking my ass, even though I was playing on a new controller that had like over 4 buttons and he wouldn't even let me do anything. So I was like, I need you to pick the yap, yap, yap girl for me. She says yap, yap, yap. And this is so many years ago. I remember until he finally told me her name was Chun Li, and it took me forever to remember her name.
Okay.
But until I could remember it, she was the yap 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 girl. So 91, 1991.
Right. Cool. And Marcus, what about you?
Mine's is fairly recent. I really didn't get into the FGC until like around, I would say it's probably on my 4th year now. I didn't really get into it because originally I moved to California around the summer of '08. I was a military brat for the majority of my life. So when I moved to California, it was mainly just to finish up high school and everything like that. Due to like how expensive it is out here, I eventually ended up moving a little bit further down to the Bay Area to live with my uncle. And
That's
then
that's
eventually it
that
just
that's so funny that you moved to the Bay Area just to Portland.
I bet, yeah, ironically enough, like I go to the most expensive place in California without even knowing, but um eventually I mean, I was just living with my uncle. I mean, it's like I was still, I was still a youngling, so I didn't really know anything about the real world just yet. But eventually, I just played fighting games casually. Tekken 3 was like my very first fighting game, but most of the other ones I've kind of played casually to a certain extent. Um, my very first tournament was Best of the Battle 6. It was when we still had, Breezy Excursion all the way in San Jose. It was like my very first tournament ever. And so I ended up meeting Nico and then, the rest of you guys, and eventually just, spiraled into, more relationships and, a more adventure. And, I can honestly say that, this is one of like the, pivoted moments in my life because, I was kind of in a rut. I was trying to figure out exactly what I wanted to do with school. I was kind of all over the place trying to work multiple jobs just to make a living. So it was kind of nice to have a newfound passion for something that I never really had in like a very long time since I played football.
All right. So if people do not know, my name is Vicky. I actually got into the FGC in 2013, I believe in May, by accident. That's where I first met Cookie, actually. It was at the Wall Bounce Wednesday at Eastern Mall.
I'm trying to go back into my memory bank right now. I'm sorry.
It was in Bounce City. It was like that kid arcade in East Ridge Mall, San Jose.
Oh yes, before it became round one.
Yeah, before it became round one. Yeah, and
Yes.
that
Oh
was
my God.
and
Yeah.
that's yeah.
You're
that's
feeling
No,
old yet?
it's coming back to me because I used to go to a DDR machine there too. They had the extreme mix. Oh my God, and it was taking tokens. I remember.
Anyway, so yeah, so that was my first FGC event, and then I actually didn't start competing until like last year with Tekken 7. Like they're alive, yeah, and Soul Calibur, yeah, but I didn't really take it seriously compared to like Tekken 7 now. But yeah, that's basically it. So right now, like I'm originally from NorCal, but now I'm representing the Pacific Northwest in Portland, so I'm doing my best here. All right. So the reason why I really want to talk about this is because like when I was in Portland, Isaiah from NorCal actually came up out of nowhere. So he had some business to do in Portland, and
Mm.
we were just catching up about how is everyone doing in NorCal, how's the FGC so far. I know that it's dead because Sharkade is closed and stuff like that. But then it got to me how like the current state of the FGC isn't how it was before. Like it's totally changed from how you first entered the FGC in 1992. I'm assuming, Cookie.
Yes. Did you want me to give you a brief synopsis, the difference between then and now, or
I
uh,
was
I,
I was gonna get into that.
okay.
So we were talking how like the FGC was originally just like a place for people to come together and just enjoy each other's company and play fighting games because that's what actually brought us together is our passion for fighting games that drive for tournament and also because we have like that deep arcade roots. But now I'm noticing how like the FGC is becoming more and more esports. They're trying to get bigger and stuff like that. I feel like that we're slowly forgetting our roots, and that's what's the main reason why I want to talk about this today. So, Cookie, since you were there since like the early ages of the FGC, in your experience, how do you feel between then and now?
So we're talking about a time where there was different technology, a different in community, a different with the way of thought with people. We're talking about like right now, people plan to make a phone call, like right now, but we don't call it a phone call. We call it either Skype or Discord or Twitter, a video chat. Back in 1990 and 91 and 92, we didn't even have the beeper yet. We didn't have cell phones yet. So you were expected to be home at a certain time. You made phone calls. I can't believe I'm about to be 34 years old. Um, yeah, really. So you made phone calls and you was excited because the person was home, so you got the phone and you're dialing on the phone like this. There was no video.
Yeah, okay,
Uh,
like
I know I must be a relic now, but I've lived through great transition. So when it came to community and martial arts gaming, we didn't have the technology at home, so the most cutting edge technology was the arcade. So when you went to the arcade, it was magical because we didn't have it at home yet. The technology didn't catch up to the arcade standard, so the only way to see the flashing lights and shit was to go to the arcade.
Yeah.
It was that's what we called it. That's what we called it. So, every community had their local arcade, and then you had subsectors like your local pizza parlor, your local bodega, or your taqueria, what they call it here on the West Coast. We call it bodega on the East Coast, where you had 3, 4 machines, and usually 9 times out of 10, it was a Street Fighter 2 or Mortal Kombat 2 or Killer Instinct machine. There was no racing games like that until you went to like the bigger arcades upstate in like New Jersey and shit. So, and then you had your big local places like Chinatown Fair Arcade, 8 on the Break in New Jersey, and Sports Time USA, New Jersey. That's where all the big tournaments ran. So you trained in your local arcade in your neighborhood, or you traveled to other people's boroughs to compete at their local arcade to prepare for the big thing, which you had to all join on a bus or something to go there to get there. That was then. Versus now, the technology has way past the arcade. You have the technology in your house now, which is relatively cheap. I remember when computers was like $3,000 and the monitor was so huge you needed 3 people to carry the shit. Um, that now you play online. Most people play online, and because people like to play online, the interactivity of being there next to somebody and playing and learning face to face and learning why you lost and how they can teach you in your face in front of a screen, this is what happened that ended in that result, no longer exists. So I wouldn't say we're losing our roots, we're losing the interconnectivity of social activity that has changed from being in front of somebody in person. People were better losers back in the 90s and the early 2000s. When you lost, they teach you, well, this is why you lost, and you can learn. And there was no salty back then. You was upset, but they taught you how to overcome that roadblock. Versus now online, you lose, you try to learn something, up the player disconnected. It's like, wait a minute, where did you go? Where did you go? You know, and for me, it took me a long time to get into the world of competitive gaming because in my local community, I was known as the person who sings and dances and interacts with the video game, which I still do to this day. I'm a performing artist first before I'm a video game competitor. And if I can't spiritually connect to the characters, then I'm not playing the game. It's not me. But that's just me. But that's the difference in a nutshell between then and now.
Marcus, since we're fairly new to the FGCs, I think you, I think,
Yeah.
I think I have 1 year seniority above you, I believe.
Mhm.
Um, how did you feel when you first arrived at FGC, and how do you feel about it now?
Well, originally, it's kind of, what he's kind of talked about to how everything is pretty much a lot more accessible than it was back then. And, originally when I was young, I would always see the arcades all the time, and, I would always want to go. And, especially when I used to live up in North Carolina, and, there was an arcade up near Raleigh. I would always go to the food court first, get my grub on, and then go to the arcade immediately after. Whether it was little rail shooters or something like that. But there was this Tekken 5 DR machine right in the middle of the arcade, and that was pretty much the most crowded machine compared to everything else within the arcade. There was literally a line, and you could see this guy playing Armor King on like a 27 win streak, beating everybody in the arcade. And whether or not I lost, because I didn't even know how to play the game back then, it was still fun to me. And it kind of transferred over when I ended up originally going to Best of the Battle 6, because I originally went for Dead or Alive, not originally for Tekken. And just meeting everybody, kind of learn, everyone, I've met, Cookie, you, plenty of other people, they all play different games, whether it's Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat or, the And I've still made friends with them regardless of whatever game we played, and I come to even enjoy the games that they play themselves. And I've always had like a competitive nature to me. It kind of stemmed from football and among other things. So it was I've always had this sort of ethnic to actually work better at something. I've never had this sort of idea of giving up on something regardless of how difficult it is. And when Tekken 7 came out, I made a promise to myself to actually fully commit to this game and actually learn it and do better regardless of how the result is. And if I told my younger self that I would end up being in the FGC and where I'm at today, it's I would be looking at myself like, what the hell are you talking about? You should get a career, go to college, do something. I mean, I'm still doing that, but it's I mean, playing with a low tier character and doing so well and then getting recognition from people, it's it's a different feeling that I've never really experienced before.
All right. So another thing I want to talk about is the stigma of the FGC. Like, we are probably the oldest esports community there is, but we're not getting that recognition that we deserve. Um, One of them is because that we are poverty, because we still have like that community roots. Like Evo is still community roots where like you put your money into the pot and then top it will
Hmm.
win that. And yeah, and then we still play like side by side, just like how, and we still prefer offline compared to online play, like have like real
Hmm.
arguments. To someone that wants to join the FGC, what do you think that you would introduce them about the FGC first to help get the FGC like a little bit more big, to get that more recognition?
Can you repeat the question one more time? I'm sorry.
what what do you think that FGC should do to bring in more people and have more recognition?
I think it should be a little bit more accommodating and more open. I think because a lot of us want to keep it almost the exclusivity of it, we're trying to protect and not let it get taken over by a lot of people in suits and ties, which sometimes the lines get blurred between professionalism and community. Who is somebody truly trying to come in as more than just a member, but part of that universe versus someone who's just trying to come in and infiltrate from the inside out, without seeing where the heart and the soul of the community is coming from, which is another staggering reason as to why we can't get to the heights of like Dota or League of Legends, because they knew when to compromise and when to work with the people in the suits versus the people in the community. You know, this has really not too much anything to do with me, but I could say that trying to create innovation within the martial arts gaming community, I've had a lot of issues, just trying to create a cosplay scene on a professional level. There's some great professional female and male cosplayers out there, and we want to get recognized within the FGC because we do more than just play the game. We live it, we are it. And when we try to work with community organizers, we don't get any screen time. We're still seen as the loony bin people that think we want to be the characters in real life. And to some extent, we are. But they don't understand that the artists, the musicians, the creators, the mocap actors, all that goes into create an excellent martial arts game. Look at people like us that do that stuff in real life. Without us, there is no game because they seek the inspiration through the performers, through the musicians, through the artists. And I feel that that has never been explored fully on the community level. And that's why we lack even more innovative, criteria. We just have the competitiveness but nothing else. Evo strives, to give more respect to more other elements within the subcategories, but for our community to get even bigger and become as big as the other communities, it needs to become more than just the game. It has to become a bigger event with more content. Dota has become that, League of Legends has become that. And even that event that happens in Canada and in Washington, um, not Hacker, I can't think of it. It's like really, really big. It's a really big event. I can't think of it right now. And they even have it in Texas. I didn't get a chance to go to it this year. It'll probably come to me while we're talking, but that's that's where the FGC should head in that particular direction.
That's one thing I noticed about how the FGC is going so far. So, like I said, I'm one of those new schools. I'm from the 2013 era. So I think I consider myself to be like on the line of like I still have the arcade roots, but then but going from the future, I will now be more esports in my FGC life. One thing I noticed
Hmm.
from what I noticed from Evo is that my first Evo 2013, it was still in the ballroom of Paris Hotel. That and I thought that was like the biggest thing ever. Like, oh man, finding games in a ballroom inside this big hotel. Not only that, but two ballrooms. That's amazing. Then you fast forward to I believe 2015. All of a sudden, we're in the convention center and we have a whole arena just for top eight for all these games.
Hmm.
I don't know what's going on, but then I noticed that every year I've been going to Evo, it's not becoming a fighting game tournament anymore. It's slowly becoming like a convention now. Like I'm seeing artist alleys, I'm seeing dealer halls within conventions, I'm seeing like a side arcade era where they're not even playing fighting games, they're playing like indie games or
Yes.
and then there's like cosplay contests, then you have panels, then there's even like
Hmm.
TVs and stuff like that. And I'm just noticing where like that's where the FGC is going to. I not to me I kind of miss the grassroots of 2013 and maybe before, where it's just purely just competitive people, where everyone wants to show up, play the best, and then make some friends, right? But now we're slowly becoming a convention. Uh, I don't know how.
And I think, not to cut you off, I think that if every area of the subcategories within the FGC can be met on the same standard of pro competitiveness, then I think we will in my concept, I think we'll have a better turnout. So still have the competitive fighting games there, but then have the pro elite artists in the artist alley, have the pro elite musicians within the artist alley, have the pro elite performing artists, the people that do free running, parkour, acrobatics, and gymnastics in character and in costume in the artist section, and have competitions for their stuff as well, so that everyone is equally represented on a pro level, on a pro professional level, and then things would be, I think we'll get better exposure. And the name of that convention is called DreamHack.
There you
That's
go.
what I'm talking about.
Mm.
DreamHack does that. They're on it. They're on it. Even though it's not just fighting games, they do other games too on a professional level. DreamHack. They're the ones that kind of got the picture going on.
Yeah, that's what they like. They're bringing in like these professional cosplayers, and then they're bringing in like these. I think even like some actors, like Hollywood actors, is starting to come into Evo. Like even WWE superstars like Xavier Woods is coming in. Wrestlers
Mm.
from JPW like Kenny Omega is coming in. So I think it's helping us build the FBC's like in the grand scheme of things. But then the part of me for that problem is that we're slowly losing the grassroots of FGC as we're going more esports. What do you guys think about how the future of the FGC looks with esports coming more and more popular into the life?
Well, I guess for North Cal in general, I feel like, I mean, not just for us in general, but I feel, to touch on, how to make, FGC more, accessible and everything. I feel like, the community locally, not just for North Cal, but Atlanta or New York, everywhere around the country, I feel like, having that welcoming community is pretty important because, I was pretty new when I originally joined because, most people see Dead or Alive as a fan service game rather than, an actual fighting game because they kind of look at it from the outside in. And, despite what game I ended up playing, the whole community was, pretty welcoming. I didn't have too many, issues. It was pretty much, all around, a very nice introduction to, what, I'm in today. And I feel like, the community plays a big role in how, you bring new people in, because it's kind of, you know, first impressions are important. And if, you know, you feel like that you're not welcomed, or if you feel like, you know, everyone's kind of like separated in the cliques, no one's not together, then, you know, some people kind of feed off that sort of thing. When I went to SCR, you know, me, Paul, some of the NorCal guys, we ended up talking with, you know, we talked to Pork Chop, who was from Atlanta, and then we also talked to Charlie, which is Weapon X from, you know, Southern California. And, you know, we've kind of talked about how, you know, specifically the SoCal FGC, how it's a little bit scattered at the moment. And, you know, originally they had Wednesday night fights, kind of like how we end up having now. But also, Super Arcade ended up coming back, which, you know, from, you know, looking into it, it was more of a, you know, the OG place where everybody went. It was kind of their sort of grassroots in their area. And originally, the problem was is that Super Arcade ended up starting most of their main games around the same day as Wednesday night fights, so it kind of split the community in half, rather than, you know, trying to work with some of the, you know, the other locals and everything like that to find a time to where, you know, within the week that these events can be more, you know, accessible and, you know, easier to, you know, go to, so people don't have to choose and people are more together in that regard. Which, you know, shout outs to Joe, you know, Joe Flores, which, you know, he's been, you know, pretty helpful. And not to mention that, you know, he's trying to keep us together to an extent, and, you know, not plan events around others. And, you know, I feel like a lot more communities can take this sort of idea into account. And, you know, that's, you know, it could be the reason why it's a little bit too clicky, or, you know, in terms of elitism, or it's a little bit scattered, or, you know, it could be the reason why we're small in general.
Well, you know, a lot of people want to be in control of their particular scene. The Wednesday night fights dilemma at the esports arena, whether it's in the Luxor, which is one location in Vegas, the location in Santa Ana and SoCal, and now our more local area here in Oakland. I'm working with Joe Flores right now to help him preserve the scene by giving content that you normally wouldn't see. You know, he's doing the Fighting EX layer right now. There's nobody else doing that. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I'm now, as you see him, picking up CVS2. So now people can watch CVS2 through Goddess's Media. And now I just picked up Third Strike. So we're going to do Third Strike and CVS2. And then on the anime night, I'm going to try to bring back a long lost all female shoujo fighting game that has been underrated for so long, unknown to America, but very known in Japan as Advanced VG2, which I believe has the power to overshadow Sailor Moon S for the Super Nintendo. Because that seems to be the new hype anime game right now. Everyone's trying to
Mm-hmm.
play Sailor Moon Super S on Super Nintendo. So I'm like, okay, nothing against Sailor Moon. I've been a Sailor Moon fan for many years, but if people want a real competitive FGC game with all females in it, then let's take it to the beginning where shoujo games first started, and it was Asuka Burning Fest and Advanced VG. So hopefully, you know, I got a chance to bring it. I'll bring it and see how people vibe to it, and it'll be through me that I have to give the content to the community because there's no access to the game during the region
Mm-hmm.
lock of PS1,
So,
unfortunately.
so that's actually one thing I was thinking about over time, is that why is like Joe and all these other small people like I'll just say Joe for example. Like I love Joe. Don't get me wrong, but this could be like just giving out my ideas for this or like my own. Thank you.
Opinion.
Yeah, thank you. My very own. Boy, you think English is my first language? Come on. Anyways, so one thing I noticed is that I was wondering to myself like, why is Joe not getting all the numbers that he deserves? Like he is one of the top NorCal's TOs. He's helped runs all these events. He was helping Sharkade a lot, right? I'm just like wondering
Mm-hmm.
why is he not getting the numbers? But then I'm looking. I went to his like videos and his stream, and then he's always streaming like these competitive games that isn't really there. It might be there in Japan, but not here in the US. For example, like Dissidia, Final Fantasy Dissidia,
Mm-hmm.
or like right now, as much I might get critique for this, but Fighting EX Layer. I don't see a lot of people actually caring about the game up here in America. Maybe in Japan because there's still an arcade culture with Fighting EX Layer, but
Hmm.
not here in America. And I'm just like wondering why is Joe. But I understand that's his passion. He has passion for the game. He has love for the game for Fighting EX Layer.
Mm.
But I feel like if he really wants to like expand on his business and also like wants to introduce more people to like NorCal FGC, I feel like he should take charge in like the bigger mainstream games like Street Fighter or Tekken 7 or like Dragon Ball Fighters.
Well, here's the answer to your question. Somebody's already doing Tekken at the Oakland Esports Arena,
Shingles,
and
yeah.
no, and there's somebody already doing Street Fighter 5. And see, Joe, just like me, we're trying to become the historians um, of the retro world because without him, myself, and a few others that still exist, that scene will truly die. All
Yeah.
the information will be lost, and you don't see Justin Wong trying to be the Oracle. Right now he's learning how to drive a car finally.
What?
So
Oh my god.
yes, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Priorities. So and all of us here, it's just anyway. Getting back on subject, there there aren't many people that are trying to do that, and so he's offering an alternative. There's nobody doing King of Fighters 98. There's nobody
Yeah.
doing anything. There's no one doing anything from SNK. SNK does not exist in America if it's not for him or me or maybe one or two other people. SNK, the company, does not exist. you know I think people's mindset in America is just so different than Asia,
Yeah.
because China, Japan, Philippines, Korea, they all stick together on the forefront of just all gaming. They support each other. Their mindset is not small when it comes to technology. But then
Yeah. Even
again,
South America as well.
yeah, like I've met some cool ass people from like Brazil and Honduras and Guatemala, and they said, "Oh, it took us long time to go compete in America. We don't go to America to compete. We just go straight to Japan. Just go to the source." And see, that's how South America is thinking. It's like we just go straight to the source. So I'm like, okay, and that's them talking about took them forever to go to Evo. With that being said, I think if we had opened our minds a little bit more to what's out
Mhm.
there, then we could bring some of the hottest martial arts games that have never ever been here that the rest of the world is rocking. It's just like how the world plays soccer. Every country plays soccer except us. We just finally getting into it because we have football. We're the only
Mhm.
ones. We're the only ones running, jumping on top of each other with a ball, trying to go through the end. Right, we're the only country. Everyone else is playing soccer. Well, you know what I mean. Everyone else is playing soccer. We're the only ones not part of the league like that. America always has to be separate from everything else when the rest
Yeah.
of the world believes in unity.
But we want to
And,
be the world police.
Come on, man. We still use the imperial system, man. Everyone else uses the metric system, man. Screw everyone else.
and
USA.
last but not least, the rest of the world speaks one to two different languages. We're the only ones thinking we're so smart speaking only English.
What about Great Britain?
When it's just
What about
broken. It's a broken language to begin with.
what about England?
Huh?
What did they speak their language in England?
There's more languages in England because they're attached to Spain, France,
Mhm.
Sicilia. There's Greece, the whole
Italy.
region, Italy, everything that's there, Italian. Yeah, they can. The way we drive to a different state is the way they could drive to another country, have a different currency, have a different language, different way of life. So that's one of the reasons why they have a tighter relationship with Japan. And Sega of England is still around, and Sega of America is gone. A lot of that happened in a lot of our countries, or why the UK or England would get certain releases and America wouldn't.
Right. So now that that's out of the way, what do you guys predict about the future of the FGC?
In which
Future events.
in which fashion, though?
Um, I think you know how like the FGC is very anti esports, but we're still going towards that direction anyways. Uh,
Hmm.
I'm noticing like uh, a lot of these new people in FGC, like coming from like Portland, also from like when I went to Canada as well. These guys are just playing games. They're not playing games because they have passion for the game or they love the game. They're playing it just to get famous. And to me, that is what I feel how the future might be for the FGC is that people are not playing the game because they love it. They're just trying to get famous. Like let's say that this guy will just talk shit all day to this. We'll say Tokido. This guy's just talking mad shit on Tokido, and every time he plays, he always loses. And then even when he loses, he just gets salty and salty. And they're like, "Yo, what are you doing? You're being an asshole." Yeah, but we'll get famous for it. And
And
that's how
it brings up the viewership.
it
It's
brings.
a tactic.
Yeah, is it?
Well, well, now you know how I feel about the stupid big titty white bitch who puts on a fucking costume and wins because she has a vagina and can't do shit the video game bitch can do in real life.
Mm.
Now you know how I feel. And but she's famous, aka what's her name? She's dressed as almost that Asian girl, you know, I can't think of her. She's dressed as Psylocke. She's at all the after parties.
Vampy.
Vampy.
Vampy bite me. This woman couldn't do a cartwheel if it cost her life. But she's there with her chest revealed to the world. She's an Asian with a butt like a black woman. She had all this work done on her. Lisa O, Vampy bite me, and then the other cosplay chick. I can't think of her. She goes to Fanime too. She's part what I call the unholy trinity. Can't think of her name right now.
Oh,
Yeah, her.
yeah, I know what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
she's part of the elitism of cosplay.
Yaya Han,
and
Yaya Han. That's it.
Yaya Han, Lisa O, and Vampy bite me, the unholy trinity. And they have hundreds of thousands of views because they're fulfilling a fantasy for men. Most men that are sexually repressed that can't have any that just can't get nobody. They look at them and it's like, wow. Well, don't put yourself in that category. Come on. They have this picture of them that they could gawk at night underneath the covers with the light out. You know what I'm saying?
That's me every night. Oh my god.
Why are you laughing?
What?
Oh my god, stop making fun of me, Cookie. I'm lonely, okay?
Oh my god.
Jeez.
Come join my world. How do you think I feel? I'm lonely.
I want to join your world, but I can't. I'm over here in Portland. Come on.
Trust me. Nobody knows how hard it is to be a
Yeah.
transgender.
I feel it.
It's beyond. It's a story for another day.
Yeah.
But I will say this in terms of where the FGC is headed. There are a lot of people in positions of power that are unqualified. And if we became totally 100% professional, the people that truly have the credentials will start pushing out the people that are unqualified, making, horrendous stupidity of the community. And so, but people look at those that are in power as the pillars of the community because of their tenure, their seniority in years from the very beginning before things actually existed. And that's their power. That's what they're functioning off of. And if you take that away from them, they really don't have anything else.
Okay,
You know,
Marcus.
until
Sorry.
Mhm.
Keep going.
No, I'm good. I'm
Alright,
good.
Marcus, what about you? What do you think of the future for the FGC?
I think, I mean, it's kind of going into a similar position to what Cookie was saying. There is those in a position of power, but, there is, people like Cookie or Joe that, wish to preserve these sort of things, but they want to do it in a more natural and, respectful way to kind of, pave the way for future generations. And I feel like, touching back on the community, I feel, the fact that some of the OGs, if depending on how they are as people, that could set the way for how people kind of act within the future. Because you kind of talked about how you wanted Joe to expand on some of these main games, but at the same, like it's it's the new, it's the hip, it's now, and I feel like between my generation and some of the ones in the future, I feel like there's been a major divide or some crazy shit has happened in between. It's it's kind of like how it comes to how I was in high school to compare to the kids of now, and I feel like it's since everything's more accessible, the way how, people's mindset is now, it's completely different from what we had. And I feel like that plays a major part as well in terms of them wanting to pursue fame and, money over, actually, competing against the best of the best and wanting to actually improve rather than, throw your controller over the wall because you're losing or, starting a lot of shit or, a lot of the stuff that's been happening recently with shootings and everything like that. It's like there's been like a major divide in between the generations that have had this sort of knowledge and have passed it on respectfully to others, and those that are kind of pursuing the fame and the fortune and where esports is kind of going. And I feel like it's kind of hard to imagine how the future is at this time because we still have those such as Cookie and Joe that are still here and still repping the grassroots and trying to preserve that. And then you also have the esports side of things where it's getting a little bit crazy. So everyone's kind of butting heads at the moment, and it is kind of hard to predict exactly where it's going. And if these two particular sides don't come to an actual agreement soon, then we might be in some trouble. Or
Well, one thing I'm glad you said that because you kind of sparked some things I want to get out on the table. When it comes to the esports sides of things, a lot of the anger from the current millennial generation is they saw this as a quick rich scheme. We're playing this game,
yeah.
we're playing it well because we can win this mass amounts of money, not realizing you're not the only one trying to go after the prize goal. And then when you lose, you realize you spent all this airfare, all this investment, all this time, you got nothing out of it, and how you're going to pay your rent at the first of
Mm-hmm.
the month, to where they've forgotten about basic life skills. And so they threw everything away for this one concept without having an ample backup. Now, another issue that I've also saw was playing the game for love versus just trying to get rich at it. Now, in my time in the 90s, in the early 2000s, there were a lot more positive images on TV, movies. People dreamed more when people played the game. They really was immersed more than just the gameplay. It was the music, it was the story, it was everything. And back in the day, the things that entertained people were different. We used to get into some serious mythological debates about storylines, not only from comic books, but from video games, from TV shows. People came together and discussed the spirituality, the subliminal level, and the surface level truths of these things and what it truly meant. You can't get that now because in today's modern time, nobody plays the game for that philosophy or watches TV for that or watches a movie for that. They're entertained.
Mm-hmm.
They got the surface truth. That's all they need. You don't want to go too deep with it because then you just may lose a friend. That's how people work now. And
Yes.
it's even carried over into the dating relationship lives of the heterosexual and the gay world, where now nobody really calls anybody over the phone. Everything is a text message. And then you got to be careful when you text someone because if you text too much, they think you're blowing up their phone. So it's like, wait a minute. I've only, yeah.
Okay, hold on.
Well,
Hold on. I'm gonna stop you right there only because I was seeing
what?
I was seeing this girl. I was seeing this girl, and I'm just you saying that right now is making me feel like subconscious about what I'm doing right now because we just stopped dating, and I'm just like, fuck.
This is not an attack. This is
I know,
not an attack on you.
I know. It's not an
It's a
attack.
current,
It's more like
it's a current mindset of the new generation. I called somebody once. No, really, we were talking on the phone. I said I'll call you in a couple of days. I called him maybe like 5, 6 days later. Why are you blowing up my phone? What are you talking about? I only called you once this week. I guess you have to let this long time elapse to where they almost forget about you, to where you then can call or text someone and then you're not harassing them, or you're seen as harassing. Versus in the 90s, we couldn't wait to get a telephone call from that person. You're waiting
Mm-hmm.
by the phone so they can catch
The
you.
home phone,
Yeah.
like the little home phone, because we didn't have cell phones
Oh,
back then.
I'm like, the level of communication and just depth and humanity was different. It's almost
Social as a whole.
it's almost impossible to feel with somebody of like that was born after 1998. I was
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, like for real.
I
And
still
I'm not even saying this to be funny.
I still remember like if I want to check someone's like if I call someone they're not home I would just grab my bike go to their house and knock on their door and say like hi is Cookie home no okay then we just like bike to like another person's place and that's how we took
There is more social, and it's kind of like back in the days where we would spend our days outside, and I mean, I still play video games too, but I mean, there was, everyone had a lot of interest in hobbies, not just inside the house, but we also wanted to socialize and communicate outside, play out in the forest, or play some football. Like, it was like the mindset of some of us back in the day was a lot more social than it is now.
are you kidding me do you know how many times I
Yeah.
want to bring do you know how
I
many
mean,
times no you know how many times? No, here's the thing. You say that, but you know how many times I want to bring out my TRTV and my PS2 outside just to play
What?
games? I want.
Oh, we didn't do. Okay, we didn't do all that. See, back then we had the Game Boy and the Game Gear, but I was playing in the forest, but that led to some other shit. So
or at the very least, when it did come to video games, like we would all party up in one house and just play split screen, or or if
Yeah.
it was fighting games, we would play
my house
in
on
the
the
house.
29th. My house on the 29th, guys. Come on, my house on the 29th this month. My house on the 29th. I'm coming back. Let's go. You know what's up. It was lit last year. It's gonna be lit again this year. Come on. But
I do need to take that day off actually,
Yeah.
so I need to do it ahead of time because I do work at like midnight, and that's usually around the time where like things get
man,
a lot more interesting.
nah, fuck your job. Let's go. Anyways,
I mean, I didn't get time to go for, the last time. I
Yeah.
had like a little short visit, and I ended up having to go to work, such as life. But
wait a
anyways,
minute. You wearing shorts? I think I got a peep. That's shorts you wearing?
she's wearing shorts.
who, me?
Yeah, you're
Yeah,
wearing
I'm like,
shorts.
I was like, wait, is he
No,
giving me a
it's
show?
just no. It's just it's just
You know,
my
I
my
see everything.
sweatpants.
I see everything. You know this.
He's wearing shorts. He's wearing shorts. He's wearing shorts. Dude,
It's
you're wearing
it's just
shorts.
sweatpants, but I pull them up because
Mhm.
it's fucking hot in this room. So
Dude,
Okay.
I'm wearing leggings right now. Come on, man. Come on.
Leggings. Wait, you're on a couch.
Hell, casting couch. It's a casting couch too. Come on.
oh hell.
Oh hell yeah.
Oh.
Anyways,
When are you coming down? When are you coming down to San Jose again?
all right. So my family doesn't know this except for my little sister, but I'll be coming down from the 23rd of December, and I'll be here until the 4th of January.
Cool.
Damn, you're leaving 4 days before my birthday. Damn.
Damn.
This is cool, hon. I'll just give you all the hugs and kisses that you need. Let's go. I got you. Because like we're not gonna see each other until like maybe the next strong style, or maybe I come down for like.
Yeah, strong style's not gonna be until like July, like late July.
I have time. I got my scholarship to study abroad. I did not get accepted, so I will not be going to Japan to study. So I'll be coming back home to Cali during the summer.
Okay.
But-
Okay, so you got a little cash with you. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, anyways, but back to the topic of the future of the FGC. What do you think esports would be the best route to have? Let me rephrase that shit. I can't speak English. Do you think that we need esports to get the recognition and to get bigger as a community?
If we're looking to reach the economic numbers of like Dota, Half-Life, Witcher, and all those other PC games that they play on a competitive level, then yes. If we're looking for those multi-million-dollar checks, then yes, it's gonna have to be that way. But within moderation. I don't think we have to sacrifice who we are to get to that level. I just
Mhm.
think the level of finesse and decorum and diction has to change. So the way we present ourselves, the way we talk, not everybody is articulate, as you can see when Sonic Fox won Esports Player of the Year. Now, let me say this, and this is not an attack on him. I've been a supporter of him for a long time because he represents not only the furry community, he represents the LGBTQ, he represents multiple marginalized demographics.
Yeah, it does.
and he's the modern day master of modern day fighting games, because God forbid, we know we will never see him play any of the older games because he can't run those gimmicks in the older games, because the mechanics are totally different. The mechanics was purely skill based. These a lot of these newer games don't have the same skill gap, as the older 90s games. There's a bit more fluff in these newer games where, the whole plus minus moves, all that stuff, new mechanics for a new generation. I get it. I'm not a hater. But getting to the point, I feel he should have had somebody in his corner, like a social media handler that said, hey, we believe you may just be winning this award. It may be wise if you go and, put this in your speech or have this pre-prepared. There
I
was
was
no one.
surprised that Echo Fox didn't exactly help him in this particular speech, considering that it's one of the major esports that's not in just fighting games, but like you said, it's also in Dota, League of Legends. It's like Echo Fox is probably like one of the the biggest ones that's spread across multiple genres of gaming, and I was kind of surprised how loose fitted the actual speech was.
I feel that at the same time, it could have been a trap. There's an old saying, you give someone enough rope so they can hang themselves. And I think he did exactly what they wanted him to do, which was to go up there and say the magical 3-word sentence that he always says, I'm black, I'm gay, and I'm a furry. And not only does that, and everything, and then he added everything a Republican hates. So now he made a generalization about Republicans. You know, he's making a constant announcement about not only his ethnicity, but also the groups that he's a part of, which we already knew that. We knew that from the gate.
Hmm.
Yeah.
You would think that after every tournament he's won and he says the same 3 things, that wait, you're now in front of like a couple of thousand people. You're in front of industry leaders, industry artists, industry composers, actors, film actors, video game actors, legitimate video game actors. And you're saying all of this and you're representing several groups. You want to sound intelligent enough to where, hey, they may want to start looking more into our community. If you're going to be
Hmm.
if you're going to be a pillar or a beacon of light, you have to be willing to, you know, act the part to some extent. Now, you don't have to compromise who you are. We know who you are. But now that you've gotten to that epsilon, will you be able to keep that? Or did it finish before it even started because of what he said on the stage?
That's one thing.
Hmm.
That's one thing I noticed too. Is that let's say that Sonic Fox didn't win, but Tokido won because we actually had. This is actually the first time in
Yeah.
the Game Awards where we had 2 FGC people that was up for nomination for best esport players of the year. Yes, that one back then that was unheard of because like the FGC has always been underrated. Everyone just looked
Hmm.
over us. But this year, not only did we had 2 FGC nominations for best esports player. We also had Evo nominated for best tournament of the year. Then Namco Bandai, they have like, well, obviously they have their own sub genre for like best fighting game, but Namco Bandai was also able to get that recognition as well. And then they actually got a lot of support because how they dealt with the win for Dragon Ball 5%, right?
Right.
So I'm saying how like okay, the esports industry is now seeing the FGC, they're now noticing us more than usual. Now, my take is that if Sonic Fox didn't win, but Tokido won instead, how do you think he would? Do you think that he would be a better representative for the FGC than Sonic Fox?
Well, I wouldn't say it would have been a better representative,
Hmm.
because he's not representing. See, I guess it was all about diversity that won this too. Sonic Fox is an enigma to some people because of his lack of ability to be socially. He has a social ineptness, and you have to catch him on a good time just for him to be personable, to be honest. As where Tokido, you could talk to him, anytime. He's actually, you can talk to him. He's a person, but he only
Hmm.
he only represents one demographic, and he's Japanese, so he's thinking from a Japanese mindset is very linear. What he would have to say, I don't think would be universal because he would be expected to play the role of a Japanese, which is very nationalist. I'm
Kind of like
Jap.
how he represents his country, when in terms of, how he presents himself to the audience more than.
It's about the country versus himself. And then when you look at, Sonic Fox, it's about, everyone, despite how supercilious, redundant, and absurd his speech kind of came off. I gotta give it to him. He
Same.
gave he
Same.
gave respect to the communities that rose him up. He said, "I want to shout out to this, shout out to this." He's physically said it. He could have left the Republican shit out, but he gave respect to the community that got his back, which caused people to stand and clap. So I stood and clapped.
He's not in it for the money or the fame. I mean,
No,
like most people are nowadays.
yeah, he just
Beat
did it.
people up.
Yeah, he just did it to beat them up. Now the thing with that, because that Sonic Fox got the award for best esports player of the year, we're seeing a lot of tweets coming out saying like, man, all you had to do is mash buttons just to get the esports player of the year. Uh, Anyone could do that. So there's this like now because like people from other communities, we'll say the FPS communities, is lost to a fighting game player, right?
Oh yeah, they were tight. They
Yeah,
were real tight.
it's particularly the CS:GO community that's been really vocal about their opinion
Yeah.
concerning us.
Yes. What do you think that how do you think that people's mentality should change to have more respect for the FGC and fighting games in general? Because they think that fighting games are easy compared to like team
Well,
sports.
I mean, in regards to the FPS, because I was an FPS man before I got into fighting games. They're a little bit more wild than us when it comes to competitiveness. Like it's a little bit getting into the over competitiveness in a really negative fashion. I mean, there's some teams that are pretty okay. They're not as outspoken, but then you have some of the main teams in shooters nowadays, such as Optic Gaming or um, that's what's another good example because there is a lot more esports teams when it comes to FPS. But I mean, I can just say Optic for now at least, where they're pretty there's a lot of characters in there, and like any other thing, usually it's kind of like the NFL where you get new players, new things like that, but the competitiveness is still there. But you have some of the few outspoken ones that are into the game, whether it's a positive or a negative way. And I see a lot more of the negative side of it sometimes, and I'm wondering, this dude's like cussing and talking shit on stage against this other team, like he doesn't give a fuck. And then it's like they still get the prize money, still get all this recognition. It's kind of hard to gauge exactly how we can approach it in terms of I mean we're pretty respectful to an extent, and it's kind of hard to come up with ideas to actually get ourselves out there in a positive light, because some of the other communities, you hear like League of Legends is kind of stuck on their elitism at times. You got some of the the nasty community when it comes to FPSs, Call of Duty or something like that. So it's kind of hard to gauge exactly what we can do in this particular situation to kind of put ourselves more in a recognizable light, but also to where it still remains positive.
I feel that when it comes to the FPS games and the group games like EverQuest, Dota, League of Legends, it's not as accessible as martial arts games are because anybody could buy a used PS3 or used PS4, download the game if you don't want a physical copy of Street Fighter 5, whatever, and there you go. Versus their games, you need to have a beefy PC.
It's a rich
Yeah.
person game. It's a rich person
It is an investment. It is an investment. Like if you don't, if your computer ain't up to standard, your shit is and you got to pay for the highest quality internet because
Hmm.
if your internet is laggy in any way or form in the middle of a battle, not only will you get blamed for their loss or not inadequately playing your role that you are, whether you're a magician or a fucking what's that, mage or whatever, that shit's out of control. I remember that shit back in the day when they had EverQuest was the game back on like Windows 98. You know, I've never had a beefy computer in my life until I got my first college refund check. That's when I finally bought like my first true beefy computer in 2006. I went to CompUSA when they existed and bought like the best fucking Pentium 4 computer. I mean, I went out, all out, video card, everything. I remember when the Puerto Rican guy that cashed me out, he walked me out with all this shit and I gave him a $200 tip. I'll never forget that. And this was in Manhattan. And even then, like the constant upgrades, you got to make sure your Windows is on point because God forbid you play in a game and Windows decides to do a system update.
Sounds right.
Or it expires,
Right? That shit's crazy. Like,
and then it just takes you, does the escape option automatically and like takes you off from the game, and you're just like, need to renew your subscription of Windows. I'm like, what? It's like I'm in the middle of a game, and then like you turn it back on, you dead already. Like,
wow. Or renew your subscription of the game that you're playing in a group too.
yeah.
Like that's a subscription. Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. I give respect to their community. I truly do. But I guess the reason why they're so vocal is because there's a lot more on the line in terms of economics. They got some serious cash flow going on.
Like
Hell
million
yeah.
dollar tournaments.
Yo,
You know, and
Fortnite's having $100 million. Come on.
and I
Mhm.
mean, and their people in teams. Their teams are like soccer teams. Like soccer teams in Brazil and South America. If one of your team members screw up, you know that it's curtains for you because when y'all in that old boy locker room, they're ready to beat the shit out of you in the shower, and the manager acts like nothing happened. It's like China, like you fuck up at this kung fu competition, we're gonna smile in front of the camera, but when the lights turn out, you're getting a beat down by everybody physically. That's how they are, like in their
Mhm.
groups in that game in the first person shooters and shit. You saw what happened in what was it, Florida, that shooting, that football game?
Oh my god,
Yeah,
that
Madden
guy,
tournament.
that guy couldn't take an L. That guy could not take an L.
Whoa, he went off. Now, the irony is the violence took place in a football game, not a fighting game. And there's more evidence of violence happening in football games and in FPS games than martial arts games ever.
Yeah.
We never have a fist fight in the fighting game community like that ever. Isn't that crazy? And you think we would, but it's happening in their games.
Where's Noel Brown? Where's Noel Brown in Marvel?
I mean, we've had physical altercations, but it's never gotten to that point where
I
someone has to pull out a gun in the middle of
per,
a major.
personally, I think it's because like the FGC, we always play offline because that's where the arcade is, right? Where
Yeah.
you're within striking distance from each other, but you're gonna be,
You
but
can't talk shit like it's not Facebook no more.
no,
Right.
man. Everyone,
You're right there.
that's one thing. That's one thing about the FPS and like all these team games, like these mobile games and stuff like that. They talk shit online, but then when because they never had to meet face to face. The only time that they meet face to face is like there's like a LAN party, but the LAN party is with their friends.
Yeah.
Even then, they don't really talk much shit in like in tournaments. But
Yeah,
in
roster changes all the time.
yeah, but
Right.
in FGC, you're like, yo, your shoulder is touching my shoulder. I'm gonna body your ass. Hey, good games like that.
Right.
That's
Or unless the times comes to the team games, that's where like the real beef coming,
yeah.
And I guess it's in terms of I've been hearing a lot of talks about how a lot of these team-based sort of events are starting to come back, or the kind of the positives it brings to the FGC in terms of having more viewership, the keeping the overall competitive between us, and it's a lot more hype than just a one-on-one sort of bout like we usually have. And
Cookie, what do you think about team battles like 5v5, 3v3s? Because like example would be like Massacre for Tekken 7 or Tekken in general, where is Japan's largest Tekken tournament only because like there's over 1,000 people,
Oh yeah, Master Cup.
and then they say like NorCal Strong Style they will be having a 3v3 team style tournament. No 1v1, just 3v3s. How do you feel about that?
Um, I've only been in one team tournament in my life, and that was when I teamed up with Chris Gonzalez, and Justin Wong, in a very rare moment of third strike. Like, and that, I thought that was, Chris Gonzalez knows my skill, but Justin Wong don't like to team up with no fucking body. He thinks he's the best in all the classics. But,
And yet you
but,
see Chris G's the one winning all of them recently.
and me and Chris, we were always neck to neck. He can't pull off the same bullshit on me that he does on others. And even though I lose to him, I give him a lot of hell. We've been friends for so long, even before he became what he became. So I thought it was very respectful that Justin allowed me to be a part of their team because they knew I was going to bring something to contribute. Um, from those results, I enjoyed it, and from enjoying that, I can say I would enjoy a 3v3 or 5v5 or whatever it's called for Tekken. I would do it. I would even do it for Soul Calibur. You know, I I like it. Especially if you're with team members that their current skill. If you can pick your team, that'd be great. Because if y'all know each other's play style, you know your current skill level, then
Hmm.
you know what you're about to bring to the table. But
Well,
if they're teaming you up with people that are like, I wouldn't say no
Random.
random. I wouldn't say no names. I don't want to call them no names because nobody's really a no name. But somebody who just doesn't have enough adequate knowledge to really throw down, then you feel like you're playing for yourself and them.
that's
Yeah.
true. Yeah. That's one thing I find to be very interesting about fighting games team tournaments is because like yeah you're on the team but you're still doing one on one with
Hmm.
that one person. It's not like League of Legends where like five of you are playing at the same time and then you just bomb rush like this one person, right? It's not like that in the fighting games. It's still one on one that
Right.
competitive play. So
Well, the elements are different. The elements in those League of Legends game and stuff is different because you have the person who's the attacker, you have the person who's holding down the defenses, you have the healer, you have the sorcerer or sorceress. You have all these different job titles, like it's an active real-time RPG, and you have everybody playing a different RPG role. And you're expected to really perfect that role. So you don't really go outside of that role. And every time you play that game, that's all you're going to be. So people look at you for that. And how well are you at that role? Because we're going to need somebody who is the best healer. So if you know somebody's getting fucked up and they're about to die, you better be there with the fucking healing powder or some shit. That's basically what it is.
He's like, help me, please.
You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
I
There's a lot
watched
more
that.
communication involved in that.
Yeah, so that's why it's like if you fuck up, you will get beat up in real life. So
yeah.
so that's what someone was trying to teach me this shit at San Jose State, and I was just looking at it. I said, okay, I'm gonna take a rain check because my brain hurts. I gotta come back. I'm gonna come back to this game. I'll remember your name. Give me your business card, and then we'll do a session. I'll download the stupid game on Windows, and we can go at it. You can tell me what I need to do. So, but yeah.
Right, so I guess that's basically most of the main stuff that I want to talk about. Thank you so much. But let's end it on like a lighter note. How are you guys' tournament career so far? Like not like career, like just a month, but like are you guys still competing in tournaments and how well are you guys been doing in summer?
I didn't hear the question. You kind of went in and out.
How is your tournament career running so far?
So for me right now, I wouldn't say I really have a tournament career. This past year has been very successful. I've been to every major with the exception of two. I wasn't at um it was on the East Coast. I can't think of the name. It was some crazy name, but it was one of the majors. They had the Third Strike Legendary qualifiers. and I wanted to be there for that, and I just couldn't be
The Fall
that.
Classic?
Yes, the Fall Classic. They had the Third Strike the Legends qualifier. I wanted to be a part of the Legends for that game, but I wasn't there. And then also Canada Cup had the 30th anniversary Third Strike. I don't know why the fuck it was up in Canada, but that's where they put it. I wasn't there for that, but I made everything that was major this year, plus going to Japan for 2 weeks. Um, I think I did great because I got medals in every classic game that I played in, and people got a chance to see more of me, and I got a chance to speak.
Yo, I've
I
been showing a lot of people who you are recently, because like your name is actually pretty well known up here in Portland. Actually.
Yeah, I don't know. There's some people that know of my. I found out somebody knew of my name in India. I don't even know how my
Oh
name
my
stretched.
god.
I don't even know, to be honest. Like, I don't even know how my name stretched that fucking far. But people know that I've been fighting to create this professional performing arts scene because I always wanted to do stunt performing for the world of FGC. And then I guess right now I'm feeling a little bit salty about my career because some no name white dude, no offense, named Bagels Payne,
Nope.
who's Bagels Payne is well known in the parkour community. He was paid by Red Bull Conquest to put on a Rashid outfit and tumble at Evo this year. And
Oh yeah,
everybody
that's the dude I saw. Oh.
and everybody was like, "Oh!" I'm like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" You know, no. You want to talk about the anger? The anger in my soul, the fire in my soul was unbelievable. Because I'm like, I've been dressing as Chun Li and Cammy, Morgan, Vice, you name it. I dressed as it, tumbling and flipping for years as a true
Yeah, there was
gamer.
two of them actually. There was two where she's jumping around, parkouring everywhere, all over Evo. Actually,
As a
they all had.
true as a true gamer, and as a true cosplayer. This dude, I follow this dude on Instagram. He has no affiliation to the video game world, to the anime world, to nothing sci-fi or geekery. And Kotaku gives him like this spread talking about the real Rashid lives. It's like he's not doing nothing that Rashid does. He's just doing free running parkour shit, dressed as
He would be
Rashid.
talking more if that was the case.
Yeah,
You say like Rashido, just go like this, hey, like that. That's all
He's
you.
like, "You want to be my friend?" You know what I'm saying? You want to
I'm like,
fight?
if he was really Rashid, where the fuck is Shazam? He would have had his secretary with him, and he would have been holding around the camera talking about social media. You know what I'm saying? And now with the new season of Street Fighter V, if I really want, I better not. If I see a Rashid, he better have Shazam next to him, and better have fucking G, because G needs to be there talking about he's president of the world on fucking social media. The camera that's in Rashid's hand. You know what I'm saying? So I need to see
Oh,
the
that's
whole
me right
fucking
there.
pack. I need the fucking package. So this is, to close off on this note, I teamed up with another martial arts tumbler named CJ Casino. He lives in um, Nevada. He lives in Reno, Nevada. He does stunts as well. We're teaming up for Evo 2019 to put on an impromptu show, flipping and tumbling.
Oh fuck
I
yeah!
I'm coming for Bagels Payne. I got him dead to rights. I don't give a fuck if I don't win any video game tournaments, but I will fuck him up on the stage. What?
Yo, Bagels,
I couldn't
money.
sleep.
Yo, Bagels, money match me in a tumbling contest. First to 10 flips. Let's go.
Yeah, like I couldn't sleep. I couldn't even sleep the night I saw that article. The night I saw that article, I couldn't even sleep. But now that I'm teaming up with this one dude that actually does shit like Uryuu in real life, I said we're going to put this motherfucker in his place.
I like it. What about you, Marcus? How's your tournament? How's your tournament career? I saw you got third place, second behind Jackie Chan and Dimeback, I believe, right?
Yeah, that was one of, I would say, compared to now, when I took, this sort of promise to actually get competitively, I never expected to progress as far as I have. And it's with the low tier character nonetheless, because I mean, season 2 kind of dropped. Marduk just came out a couple of days ago, which is basically,
Marduk is fun, by the way. He is so fun.
yeah, he's completely unscaled, but he has stupid damage for no reason. he's basically Gigas with damage. But I mean, touching on that, I mean, I've invested almost ever since I got into the FGC. Actually, I've invested all my time and years into this one character, and the fact that I really haven't given up, and the results end up showing that. And I've been getting recognition from other players in terms of having a very good Gigas in general. I mean, I just had an online tournament yesterday, and a lot of people were praising my Gigas for I mean, still sticking with him regardless of how the memes come out, and Marduk having Gigas in a garbage can, or those sort of memes that have been coming out ever since Marduk's been released. But the rundown was probably the pinnacle, or the peak of my current skill level at this time, and it showed quite a bit. And I even beat a particular demon that was always beating me in tournament. Like, this is the first time I've ever beaten him in a tournament to get to top 3. So this was pretty much a NorCal kill. And the first loss that I had was against the NorCal players, and that's usually how it ends up happening in majors. Even SCR, I got eliminated by one of my own. So it's kind of nice to see myself improve and get better, and the result. And I did this with like a fucked up leg, by the way, because like I fucked up my leg before the actual tournament.
You ate too many steak edges, then. You ate too many.
Yeah, because I was heading to work, and it was not even a minute that I left the house, and I completely ate shit in an intersection, like a minute after I left the house, and I fractured my ankle.
Oh, you didn't even know that till like later.
No, yeah, it was. I actually went to work that night still because I needed the money, but it got really swollen that day. So like pretty much the doctors took some X-rays, and it was fractured, but it was just poor timing because the 2 days after I end up having to go to this tournament with this boot on my leg, and I end up winning.
With a boot?
With a boot. I even, beat one of the particular matchups that I did not like in season 1, which was Uryuu.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like her. There's particular matchups that I don't like, particularly for my character, just due to reasons and some of the weaknesses and shortcomings that he has. So it was kind of good to see myself get this far in terms of my overall skill level, compared to like I didn't even know anything about frame data. So when I played Tekken Tag 2, I didn't know a damn thing of why I was losing, because everyone was launching me, punishing me after I did some ridiculous move. I mean, I would win every now and then, I would get lucky, but I didn't understand the frames of what I was doing. Like, oh, this is unsafe, I should be punishing this, or I wasn't blocking lows as much as I do now, or low parrying or anything like that. So I took a lot of my weaknesses into account, and breaks were needed every so often. I kind of had to cool off, but I've never had this sort of competitiveness in any sort of game in general, whether it comes to shooters or fighters. This is like the one thing that I haven't really give up on, despite the fact that everyone gets mad eventually. You deal with some like ridiculous cross-ups, or some broken tech that hasn't been patched yet, and they're just doing this to you left and right, and you're like, what am I supposed to do? And it's, I guess it's in terms of like my mentality and ethic to lab and improve, and not bring a gun every time I lose or something like that, and just but I mean I still lost to some of to Jackie Tran. It was my second time fighting him. The first time I fought him, it was kind of like a similar thing to where like I got completely destroyed. And this was when I was still learning Gigas, and I was still learning frame data, I was still learning punishing, and reacting to certain things. And it was kind of a similar situation this time, but I felt like I was more confident and in approaching him again, because I always wanted to fight people again to see how much I progressed. And it feels good. It's really nice, and I'm kind of surprised that it's the 4 years have just flew by kind of quick, and I hope to keep improving with my particular character, despite however I've been ranting about shitty frames or how horrible he is, it's kind of hard to give up on something when you're completely attached to a character. Kind of like how Cookie's attached to a lot of his characters, whether it's fighting EX Layer or Third Strike or something like that. I mean, I don't do like the fancy like, you know, poses. Like I'm not gonna taunt with Gigas when I'm like, you know, actually doing it, like taking damage. I mean, I might get a little bit hype and, you know, like be like, yeah, you know. I mean, you know, some of the NorCal people kind of, you know me for that particular thing, like getting hype and everything like that. I kind of had to do that for the Red Bull Rise event.
I know what I do is specific to me. No, I don't. You know, nobody really does what I do, and I don't really expect them to. You know, I've been doing this since I was a little kid. You know, and it started with old cartoons like Muppet Babies. You know, that far back. You know, imitating cartoons and stuff. So I just ported all of that into video games.
Nice. I'm really happy that you guys are getting like the attention that you guys deserve and stuff. Like you guys are doing really well. Marcus, congratulations at third place. I think. What's the next major tournament that you guys are gonna go?
The next major one. Well, the next Wednesday night fight is going to be in January, so I'll be there to help facilitate Third Strike and CVS2 again. I'm going to go on their anime night coming up shortly to try and bring Advanced VG2 there. In terms of major tournament, I'm not sure right now, but it's definitely next year because nothing really is happening. Now, everybody that I know, we're just ready to close out 2018.
Yeah.
This was a very productive and long year.
Yeah, we're at pretty much the finals for a lot of the major games are just closing out, so everyone's just waiting for reveals and then, you know, kind of training during the holiday season going into next year.
I guess you could say what I anticipate for next year is, which I tried so hard to get a private invite to, and I failed miserably. I wanted to be there so bad.
Wait, where?
You know,
where?
Mortal Kombat.
Mortal Kombat 11. Mortal Kombat.
It's in Los Angeles this year for the reveal in January.
17th. The 17th of January, and you know Michelangelo got an invite. God knows whose dick did he suck to get the fucking invite, man. You know I don't understand. Like, move over and share some of those nuts with me.
Yeah, I noticed a lot of people that I don't recognize within the NRS community that's been getting invites. I know some people that, you know, obviously Michelangelo. I think SMG Princess got one as well, but a lot of like
bitch got one too.
I mean, she's been good. Yeah, she's been supporting the scene, so I kind of respect it. But some of the other people, there's like a lot of like, you know, names that I don't particularly recognize because I'm used to seeing like some of the, you know, same faces, you know, every so often within the community. I see like a couple of, you know, up and comers every so often, but a lot of these people I don't exactly recognize. So I can't really say anything until, you know, the actual thing happens. I think they're gonna do a similar thing with MKX, you know, have like a tournament, showcase the game, everything like that sort of deal.
I'm so ready to lose my mind. You know, on this game, like, no, this game I'm practicing hardcore. Like, I'm trying to create a fucking coalition of us to come together. No, for us to come together and study this game from the inside out. Because, you know, they did an homage to Mortal Kombat 2, and everyone knows my favorite Mortal Kombat is 2 and 5. And when I saw the 2 ones like this, and they did it alongside Mortal Kombat 2, I said, okay. I said, I get it. I said, I get it. I fucking get it. Like you could have seen, like I was like a baby in a crib with a pacifier. It was crazy. I was so happy.
So when MK11 comes out, that's gonna be like the main focus for you competitively.
I will be on the forefront. I'll be on the forefront. I've already spoken to my tailor. I've spoken to my tailor to have my outfit made already. I already know how I'm going to enter this bitch and how I'm going to present it myself throughout the entire life of this game. Now, secondly, I'm waiting for the Bayonetta 3 reveal, and then the real reveal of Bayonetta 3, and then I'm also waiting for, because people know I will pick up Street Fighter 5, God forbid, at Capcom Cup. They show fucking Rose. If this bitch is the first woman of Street Fighter 5 for season 4, I'm there. Rose and Elena, that's all I need. One of those two ladies, preferably both.
I know the main data miner that's been doing some, like, kind of seeing how the leaks are. He switched his profile picture from Rose to Sea Viper. So I don't know if it's probably going to be either Rose or Sea Viper possibly for what they reveal first. But I mean, if they really want to get people hyped, then I would assume Rose would be the obvious choice in the latter compared to everybody else.
Oh yeah, I am so ready. They was telling me Rose throws a. They was like she can now throw a tarot card. I was like, what?
Oh hell! I
What?
mean, what? It's gonna have special effects depending on which one you use, or like.
Hey, you never know. I'm excited. I don't care. All I care about is that she's there.
So the thing is that when MK11 comes out, Cookie, maybe Marcus, because I think you played Chameleon in MK11.
I played Reptile. Well, originally I played Kano when he ended up being low tier. Like somehow all the characters that like I'm attached to end up being low tier for some odd reason. But I mean, it's kind of like I like being creative, and I like playing a character that I'm invested in. I don't feel like playing a character that I don't. First, like it's just me, but I despise meta. I don't like meta. Whether it's FPS or fighting games like top tier, I feel like I have more of a success and victory when I'm creative and I actually outthink the person with a character that I'm fully invested in and that I put time into. That you see the fruits of my labor from my results.
So yeah, I expect Cookie to get like some top 8s and majors, like how Cookie did with Fighting EX Layer. I saw you
Yeah.
at I saw Cookie on like the top 8. I think he got second place in one of them.
I did. I got second place. I lost to Guillotine Gorilla, and because I was really trying to win. But people saw my passion because like when I was fighting, in the top, people saw it from the beginning of the tournament. But when we got
Doing
there,
all the
like
poses.
I was doing. People saw me do all the moves, everything. I was in it from start to finish. Like even the commentator was like, "We can't believe that he's totally in sync with the character."
The commentators were like, "Yo, when Cookie
Mhm.
wins, put the camera on Cookie immediately."
Yeah,
Like,
because like they keep cutting it off every time like you're trying to do poses within the actual camera, and then they're like, why are they always cutting off the camera when he's doing the poses?
Put the camera on Cookie. That's
Yeah.
it. That's it. Yeah.
because guess what? And that's where some of the politics come into the FGC. I've noticed that whenever I've done stuff that was like entertaining to the public and people that really had serious hateration against me, they would find ways not to give me any exposure. For a long time, I've noticed that. Or when I've won certain tournaments, they wouldn't post the data that I've gotten this rank. Literally, literally.
Mm.
There's a lot of that goes on. But I think because I'm getting more and more into current games and more people are watching and seeing, then there's no way for them to get rid of that data. But you know what? People that was there that saw it in person. They know what I do. They see it in person, whether they cut the data off or not. People still remember it because they were there to see it live. so it's like, you cut off the camera, okay. But I know they kept doing that over and over and over, and
Yeah.
they'll show the other player but never show me. I know it's happened many a days, many tournaments I've been to. And I'd be looking for the footage of me, but never could find me. And I'm like, wait, is that my match? Is that me? I don't see me because they only showing the other person, but got me cut off on purpose.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That, and you probably would have won CEO if I actually if I told you earlier what exactly happened to you in terms of all that damage that happened.
Yeah, he was. I'm such a loyalist. I'm a loyalist to my own detriment because I know he was using Babel and I was
Yeah.
using Shinobi. So he was doing
Yeah.
one combo and I was taking like 80% life off of one combo, and I would do the same combo with Shirase and never even get that far. I'd take like 25%, 20%. And my shit be flashy too. My shit be hella flashy. I be activating. I'm like, why? I don't understand. But I'm like, whatever. I got second. I take second. I'll take second. I'm good. I was there. But guess
Yeah, it
what?
was kind of when that particular Gogi was kind of broken. So basically, whenever you did special moves or supers, it did like way more damage than it was. The scaling was kind of ridiculous. Like you can get death combos with that particular thing if you had full resources.
But in the end, here's the funny part. In the end, Guillotine Gorilla and me and the third person, Jahan, we didn't even get recognized for being the winners of the very first tournament. They
What?
gave that. No, we never did. They gave that shit to Justin Wong at Evo.
What?
You see how politics work? I'm telling you. This is why people don't like our community. Shit like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
shit like that.
Wait, how did you do at Evo
It
for
was sing it
coming
was
in?
single elimination, and
Yeah.
I lost to an infinite combo that this dude did with Dotrin Dark. He did an infinite. That's why he got patched. He
Mhm.
literally did an infinite, and I couldn't get
Wait,
out of it.
was it? Was he sponsored by chance?
No, he wasn't.
Okay, because I lost to Doctor in Dark. That was he was sponsored. I think it was the same group that Pink Diamond was in. I'm not too sure, but don't quote me on that. I can't. It's hard for me to like recognize what jersey that he had on, but you know he was pretty good with Doctrine. I lost to him. I think I lost to someone else. Oh yeah, it was single limb. I forgot. Yeah, I lost to the Doctor and I got destroyed.
Unfortunately, you guys are lucky that you guys can play games. So due to this new place I'm currently at, so this place I'm living, right? So I'm living with 6 women actually. So I'm living with 6 women, and I cannot really play at home because my buttons make too much noise with my roommates.
Hmm.
So it's kind of hard for me to actually practice. Not only that, I don't have a really good internet here. The only time that it's good internet is because like my roommates are actually out of the house for this week, so I'll be able to actually practice. But
No girls' night out. No.
no, but yeah, no girls night out. Only because like they're mainly like students or family or couples, right? So I don't really have the chance to play. Like you know how like
Yeah.
You know how like Tekken 7 came out like over a year
So
ago.
so
Mhm.
guys,